Prabha, we are live.
Okay, fine.
Good evening, viewers. This is your host, Pulomanandi from Global Education and Training Institute, welcoming you all once again in this movement of hashtag disruptive education. As you all know, the series of disruptive education movement is a place where Global Education and Training Institute has invited all the speakers from different faces, from different walk of life, and they do come over here and present what they have to present, the best thing that they can do in terms of education, in terms of sharing some knowledge, in terms of giving some ideas about developing skills, etc. So today, in the same way, we have a speaker with us. She is Miss S. Prabha, working as an assistant professor in Pratyusha Engineering College, Chennai. She has been teaching for 6 years in engineering colleges, and she's also into training the engineering students in college who are preparing for the placements in and out of the campus. She is passionate towards training students to excel in their English communication, and that is her research area. She is an MA MPhil with specialization in English language, which is activity based teaching, which is ABT. And today, in this forum, she is going to contribute to all of us with her area of research, her area of specialization, that is communication skills. And the topic of the day of the session is enhance your communication skills. So, Ms. Prabha, you are warmly welcome. I, on behalf of Global Education and Training Institute, warmly welcome you in this session of the movement hashtag disruptive education. And I'm sure this skills, communication skill, is one of the uh, most important skills that people should actually learn, and they should actually know how to use this effectively, because communication is very important for any language. And since you are the right person, you are the best person, it's a research area, it's the area of your specialization, you're passionate about this. So I'm sure today in this session, you're going to do a lot of value addition to all our dear viewers who are here and bring a change in their life. So thank you for your time and welcome you here in this forum. And my dear viewers, as you know, the topic is enhance your communication skills. So please do post your questions related to the topic in the comment section so that we can get back to you with the required answers. So stay tuned till the end of this session. Thank you all. And now it's over to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank, thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone present here. Today, we are going to discuss on this topic: enhance your communication skills. So, we all know communication skills is one of the life skills which everyone should achieve. And also, I want to tell you, the skills cannot be achieved by learning something or by putting you into effort, but it can be achieved naturally, right? So communication skill also can be achieved naturally only with your interest and your motivation. That's what I want to tell you. And then today, now we can see what is communication. So everyone knows that communication is a transfer of messages or transfer of thoughts, feelings, ideas, right? So if you want to convey any message to someone, we have to use language. And which is the best language? That is been prepared by the speaker or been selected by the speaker. And that the communication is a two-way process. It is not one-way process. In communication, the sender and also the receiver involved in communication, right? So now we see about the importance of English communication skills. English language is being considered as a global language. We all know that. So it is very much essential to know the know, or it is very much essential to acquire the English communication skills. How can we acquire the English communication skills? It's a human tendency to learn the mother tongue, mother language naturally, but if you want to learn a second language, it takes much effort, or it takes much practice to gain the knowledge of communication. Same way English also, if you want to gain knowledge in communication, you should have the basic understanding of the communication, and before that you should have the interest. That is very much important. If you have interest to learn something, if you have interest to acquire something, definitely you can achieve that goal. That is the main goal of communication. And why it is more important, why communication or English communication is more important? First, I said that it is a global language, globally accepted by everyone. Wherever you go out of India, or if you go to any other country for that matter, you need English communication skills. If you have good communication skills, you can definitely communicate with everyone and anyone in the world. That is the main use of English communication skills. And also it is used for education. How can we say it is? Actually, it's been called as library language, because all the books, many of the books or research related books, we can see only in English. So if you want to acquire more knowledge, you need communication skills, that is English communication skills. So if you have good English communication skills, you can easily convey your ideas or thoughts. You may have innovative ideas or creative ideas. How will you express that? Only if you have a good communication skills. Since English being an international language or a global language, you can communicate to anyone for that matter, and you can grow in your career. So that is the main thing of communication skills. And also, if you have good communication skills, it shows that you are a respectable person in the society. Everybody will respect you. You would have seen that, right? So if you should have good communication skill. And even in British Council, the it states that more than 2 million people will be studying English by the year of 2020. So you know how much it has been important. So everyone got aware of the importance of communication skills, but still we can see many of them are lagging in communication. So it's their interest and it's their motivation to improve their communication skill. We can see such a rapid growth of globalization because of the language English. Okay, so we have to acquire that language, so to survive in any part of the world. And if you have good communication skill, you can stand out of the crowd. You will be a distinct person from others. So it's very essential to have good communication skill. Now we'll see what are the types of communication skills. We have two types of communication skills. One is verbal and the other is non-verbal. So verbal, we all know the oral form and the written form, whatever we speak or whatever we write, especially
Excuse me,
all the
Prava.
words. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Prava. Are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
doing the screen sharing? Because it's not coming. Have you
Oh,
started the
sorry.
screen sharing?
Okay, ma'am. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but
It's
because I
not.
understood you have not started the screen sharing, it's not coming in the. Okay,
Now,
no
now are
issues.
you able to see,
I'll
ma'am?
see.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
No,
Okay.
it's okay. You
So,
can make it a full screen. You can make
okay,
it full screen.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Good to
Thank you,
go.
ma'am.
Thank you.
So we have two types of communication skills. One is verbal and the other is non-verbal. Non-verbal purely deals with the words, the oral form, the written form, whatever we use for communication, it's come under verbal communication. And non-verbal communication is nothing but the body language which you use when we communicate. It can be the body language, it can be the gestures you use, it can be the eye movement, it can be the posture you sit or you move. These are the non-verbal communication. And researchers says that the while communicating, the non-verbal plays a vital role, because non-verbal communication will have 93 percentage of usage than the verbal have only 7 percentage. Okay, so even the great dramatist George Bernard has said once, I am the most spontaneous speaker in the world because every word every gesture and every retort has been carefully rehearsed. So he has already influenced how it is very much important to have verbal and non-verbal communication. Not only the word can, even the gestures or the non-verbal communication speaks a lot than the words. So how we feel, how we express our emotions or our feelings only because of only with our facial expressions and our body movements, right? So that's why the non-verbal communication also has got that much importance. It is very much important to have interpersonal communication skills, which is one of the most important soft skills we can see nowadays. Yes. Now we can see the classification, how body language, the tone of voice, and also the words have given only 7%. Of course, words are very important in communication, but still when you convey something, your body language speaks better. So body language comes for 55%, and the tone of voice will come for 38%. So totally you'll have 93% for non-verbal communication, but for words we have only 7%. Now you can see the types of nonverbal communications. As I already told you, the posture, the way you sit, the way you interact with the way you move around, all these comes under nonverbal communication. The body language, the eye contact, the movement of your eyes, the tone, the rise and tone of the speech, all those will come under your nonverbal communication. Your facial expression, your presentation, your gestures, all these are nonverbal communication. When you communicate, even many people used to ask whether it is essential to have gestures for communication. Yes, it's of course it's very much essential, but too much of gestures will distract your communication. You should be very much careful when you give gestures or body movements. Now, when you communicate verbally, you should have 7 C's of communication, we call it in English. So, 7 C's are very important when you communicate verbally. That is conciseness means the brevity. You should select the only the important thing which is necessary for the communication. And next is consideration. You should consider the receiver or the listener, because you are communicating the message to the listener. You are speaking for the listener or the audience, and you're not speaking for yourself, right? So you have to consider the audience. That is very important. Next is correctness. Correctness means without error, without grammatical mistakes. You should speak without grammatical mistakes. Next is clarity. Clarity of language is very important. If you're not conveying your message very clearly, the people might confused with you and they misinterpret your message. So it should be very clearly conveyed to the audience. Next is courtesy. Courtesy, of course, it's very important. Your language should be in a polite manner. You know, English language itself is a respectable language and it is a polite language. We should use in a way that we should not hurt others, and also we should respect others. It shows that you respect others. Your communication will be like that. Next is concreteness. You should have a solid point to express to your viewers or to your audience. This all will be including all these C's will have the completeness of your communication or the message which you are conveying. Now, see, I told you English language is communication is a process. So how can you say it's a process? So for example, if you mention about any process, it involves in certain steps or certain actions. Like way communication also is a process. First, sender is a person. He wants to send the message to someone else, to the recipient or to the listener or to the audience. What he will do first, he will have a message in his mind. He will encode the message. How he will encode the message? Encoding is nothing but he will select the words or vocabularies or the sentences in order to make the recipient understand. The main purpose is he has to make him understand. Whatever he conveys, it should be understandable to the listener. That's why he encodes the message first. Then he select the medium. How? In what way he can send the message? Medium is nothing but your oral, or whether he has to select in what way he can communicate, in what source he can communicate. It can be the oral message, it can be the written message, or it can be the electric message or email. right? So that is a medium. So he will convey the message, or he will send the message through a proper medium. That is very important. He has to select the proper medium for communication. And then the receiver will, when receives the message, he will decodes the message. Decoding is nothing but he will understand the message which he got or which he received from the sender, and he will understand or he will comprehend the message based upon his understanding and the experience. That is decoding. Once he decodes the message, he will send the feedback. So sender now receives the feedback. Once the sender receives the feedback, he comes to know whether he has conveyed the message properly, or whether he has conveyed his message correctly, or whether he has selected the medium in a proper way. That is the thing, that is the many, that is the help, or that is the use of the feedback. Feedback helps us to assess ourselves. So sender comes to know he has conveyed the message properly, like, so this is the process of communication. And in between this communication, this process, we may have a lot of barriers, or the hindrance, or the obstacles we call. We have to, as a good communicator or the effective communicator, we have to overcome all these barriers. Then only we can be an effective communicator. See, language is a skill, right? It's not a subject to be learned or a concept to be learned. We can achieve the language, or we can acquire the language. How can we acquire the language? Here I have given few examples, like swimming, art, cooking. These all are the skills. Skills means the ability to do some better things better. So if you want to swim in a big pond, you can't do it in a very first day itself. You need a practice, lot of practice for that. So only when you have good practice, you can achieve, or you can swim well in the pond. Same way, the cooking. While doing cooking, you'll commit more mistakes initially. But how will you acquire how will you achieve the best way of cooking? Only by practice. Likewise, communication is also a skill, and it has to be achieved only by practice. See, when you want to achieve a skill, you have to undergo certain steps. First is tell me. You can see the first step, that is tell me. Tell me is nothing but the interest which you have to learn a language or acquire a language. So you should have self motivation or interest to acquire any language. That is the first step. The next, show me. If you have interest and if you simply sit quietly, you can't achieve anything. So you should, when you have interest, you should go into the atmosphere, or you should go into an environment where you can acquire more skills. That is the thing. Then let me try. And then when you see, when you hear, how can you involve yourself? You can listen to more videos, you can listen to more professional talks, you can listen to more movies, you can watch movies, listen to musics in the target language which you want to acquire. So these are the way you can get into the experience, or if you are exposing yourself into the experience or the environment, you can learn well. And next is let me try. Now you have some idea about the language, you know the sentence structure, you know the vocabularies, you can understand few vocabularies. With that, you have to try. Let me try, that is the next step. So if you try a lot, practice makes a man perfect, we all know that. So if you practice well, you can definitely achieve one day. So this is a gradual acquisition of the knowledge or the skills. So daily you should practice. That's my advice. Even I speak to my students like this. They should get practice to it, or they should get into an environment where they can improve their communication skills. So when they practice, they will get to know whether they are communicating in a right way. So then they will assess themselves. Once they'll come to some knowledge, certain knowledge, understand certain knowledge about the language, excuse me, they will assess themselves. They'll assess themselves whether they are correct, they are speaking correctly, or whether they are writing correctly. All their skills, they can assess themselves. Self assessment. Excuse me. So they'll assess themselves. So how can they assess themselves? There are many ways to assess themselves. They can use the dictionary. They can contact the professionals who are there. They can even they can more view more and more the videos, or more and more talks by the native speakers. Likewise, they can correct themselves. Okay, this is not the right thing which I spoke, so we should have to modify like this. So this is the thing we should do. We have to self assess ourselves. And when you self assess yourself, you'll come to know the proper idea about speaking a language. Then you can apply it. This is the way you can achieve the skill. Next, excuse me. In English language, we have four skills. So, listening, speaking, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Listening and reading are receptive skills, and speaking and writing are productive skills. So, these are the skills we have to be efficient enough in order to speak effectively. So if you have to achieve a skill, but we have certain barriers. But how can we overcome the barriers? So here is a list of barriers I have shown displayed you. Physical barriers. Physical barriers is nothing but the ailment or any physical illness we have, and we are not able to concentrate on what we talk and what we listen. That is the physical barriers. Next, cultural barriers. Cultural barriers is the another barrier. See, when you go across world, or when you go across countries, we used to face many people with different culture. So we should express our communication. We should convey the message, or we should talk to them in a way they should understand. Because cultural barrier is also there when you communicate with people from different parts of the country. Then language barriers. Language itself is a barrier for someone, because they don't have the proper knowledge about the linguistic, the semantic field. They should know how the language has been how we can use the language, or in what context we should use a particular vocabulary or particular sentence. All these things, even the grammar. So these all come under language barrier. Next is emotional barrier. If you are emotionally not fit, if you are emotionally disturbed, this also will become a barrier for you. You cannot communicate well, or you cannot listen to anyone who is speaking. So that will become a barrier. Next is gender barrier. Gender barrier, we feel discomfort when we speak to the other gender. So that also sometimes become the barrier. Everything we cannot share with everyone. So organizational barrier. When you organize a structure of a sentence, or when you organize a sentence, or structure a sentence, there again you'll get a lot of confusions. And also when you write a paragraph, or when you give a speech, you have to organize your thought process. That is very important. First, you should have the outline of what you're going to speak, or what you're going to write. If that and if you're not doing that properly, that itself is a barrier for you. Perceptual, you have to perceive things properly. So all these are barriers when you communicate. So how to overcome all these barriers to achieve these four skills, which is the mandatory for English communication? First is effective listening skills. So this is the first skills we have. How we can achieve this skill? Listening is very important. Only the person who listens a lot, he will speak a lot. A great leader is a great he's a good speaker. At the same time, he's a listener as well. He has to listen to his no subordinates properly. He has to give ears to what they say. So you have to listen to others. That build a good bond among people. Even in the family or in the working place, you should have good listening skills. You should know or understand what the others are saying. What are their concerns? You should listen to them first. Listening is not just hearing anything. There is a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is just physical activity. You can hear anything, many things, and while multitasking, you can hear to many activity, many talkings or many conversations. But you cannot do listening like that. Listening needs pure concentration. Listening needs your involvement, your feedback. You have to reply them. Then only it shows that you listen properly. You would have seen people going to movies or any talks, any conference, and sitting there for 3 to 4 hours. And when they come out, if you ask them, ma'am, what did you learn from what is the topic of the today's session, or what is the main theme of the session? You are not able to say what it is. So that's what hearing. You can hear a lot, but listening is an active process. So you should not be a passive listener. You should be an active listener. If you want to acquire a language, you should be an active listener. You observe the speaker, what he's saying, what is his intention to speak. All those things you will observe. You keep an open mind to receive the things what the speaker is going to convey. Then only you can fight all the barriers which is there. You can fight the barriers which is there for listening. For listening, you should not have external noise as well. If you have external noise, you cannot listen to them. You can have meaningful notes when you listen to a session. That will help you a lot. So that this way, listening helps you a lot to improve your communication. Now, next skill is effective speaking skills. This is very much important. Next to this listening, you have speaking. Well, how can you speak? How a baby has learned or acquired a language. The baby had acquired a language only by listening well. Nobody had taught them to utter a word when they were 1 or 2 years of age. They listen a lot. They observe their parents. They observe the people around them. So they start to utter few words first. The starting stage itself, they won't utter a full sentence, meaningful sentence. First, they'll start with a word. They'll utter few words, and then when in a period of time, they'll start doing practice of few small sentences, and likewise they'll acquire the language. The same way, acquiring the second language is also done by active listening. So you have to listen very actively. You have to get involved into it, and then you can utter that words. Then you can speak the words, the tones, and also you have to give importance to the sounds when you speak. All the language doesn't have the same pattern or same tone when you speak. So you have to follow the tone or the intonation which has been used by the native people or native speakers, and you can follow that. Gradually, you can acquire the language skills. So, in speaking, also sounds, pronunciation is very important. You know how to pronounce a word. Pronunciation even differ from context to context. You should know that the intonation which you used. So, when you listen certain things, you have to rehearse yourself. You have to rehearse. You have to practice that. You can find a partner for your communication skill to improve your communication skills. So if you have a good partner for you, you can improve communication in a better way. No matter you commit mistakes in the beginning, people learn only by mistakes. So you have to you have to create an environment where you can involve yourself. You can express your thoughts. The self motivation should be there. Nobody can force you to achieve any skills. Even the sports people, you can see how they are playing in the field. They cannot play, play in the field and achieve on the very first day. They have to get practice. Same way, you have to prepare and practice well. You have to speak well. You have to rehearse talks. And you have to acquire the language naturally, not through the translation or any other matter. When you acquire the language naturally, that remains in your mind. That will help you to speak fluently. So you have to select appropriate word to the based upon the context, the meaningful thoughts, and you should have a coherence between the sentences. There should be a logical sequence when you speak. You can't just like that speak. Then only the listener will understand, or then only listener can listen to your talks or your conversation. Voice modulation. When you speak, the modulation plays a vital role. You have to use a proper voice modulation. When you speak in a same tone till the end, nobody will listen. So there should be a voice modulation when you speak. That's how we can achieve our speaking skills. So how can we have effective speaking skills? You language We can use language quickly and confidently. How? Only by practice. Real life in situation, you have to expose yourself to the real situations. You yourself know, volunteer yourself to talk. Many of us hesitate to talk. That's why we are not able to achieve the level or the goal. So we have to motivate ourselves. We should have self interest or self motivation, and we should create an atmosphere where we can expose ourselves. And paraphrasing ideas, when you listen to certain talks, or when you listen to certain conversation, or if you watch a movie, you should have a habit of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing helps you a lot to accurate language. So you have to put all the no concept, all the things, whatever you have watched or whatever you have viewed, and you have to put it in your own words. There you can improve your communication skills, that is speaking skills. Briefly, you summarize it, what you have done it. The best activity is you can talk to yourself. You can talk in front of the mirror, not to others first. If you talk in front of the mirror, you can know where you are lacking, either in the tone, or in the vocabulary, or in the sentence structure, or in grammatically you are committing mistakes, or the posture, and also the non-verbal communications, whatever it may be. So you can assess yourself. Then when you do it and when you rehearse it, we can assess ourselves. When you assess yourself, no, you yourself can give feedback to you. How are you performing? Are you satisfied with the way you communicate? Likewise, the assessment and the feedback helps us a lot in acquiring a language. While speaking, we'll have daily speaking, or day-to-day life communication, and also the presentation. So when you talk to people in and around, you can use the language which is the target language for you, which in which language you want to excel. Better avoid fillers. Fillers, we have verbal and non-verbal fillers. Now, verbal fillers means the words which you use unnecessarily. That is, I mean, yeah, I mean to say, or these words, some phrases or some words which is being considered as fillers, which is being used unnecessarily, whether it is not required. So you can avoid that. Non-verbal fillers, unnecessarily showing some gestures. You can avoid that. That will distract the listener. He won't have much interest to listen to you. So you can avoid the fillers. And do not chew anything when you talk, or do not do a play with any object when you talk. These are all the distraction you have when you communicate. Look at the person, have a good eye contact, give proper gestures, and also use proper vocabularies and the language. Be a normal, be yourself. Don't imitate others. You have to be yourself. Now, when presentation, you have a huge audience when you give a presentation. You should have the audience in your mind whenever you talk. Either it can be one person, or it's a group of people, or it's a huge audience. So you should have audience in your mind, and the topic what you're going to speak. So when you have that, you can prepare yourself to present anything in front of anyone. And the visual aids, the proper visual aids is required whenever you present anything. Don't use too much of visual aids, that will distract the listeners. And focus on your body language. A non-verbal communication, again, it's very important. So you should very much focus your body language when you communicate. And include previews and summaries on major topics or points. You should have previews and also summary of what you are presenting, to make the listeners, to make the audience understand what you are presenting. So how will you deliver the message? Should have a eye contact, should have clarity of speech, not too fast, You should be very sure whether everyone have heard whatever you're saying. So your voice should be audible enough. Speak in a natural way, your own style. Don't follow anyone. Use gestures, and you can encourage question and answer to the question politely. When you learn a language, you should have lots of questions in your mind, especially when you go someplace. If you go to some environment, or if you see an object, you will have lot of question in your mind. But the questions will be in your mother tongue or in your native language. These questions, if you have in the target language, you can improve a lot. Next skill is effective reading. Reading is also very important. You should know. You should have a habit of reading books, newspapers. When you read, you should not have any outside distraction, external noise. You should be very calm, and you should select a place where you can concentrate much whatever you are reading. There should be a proper lighting, and don't make it too comfortable where you'll feel sleepy. So you should be in a position where you can concentrate. You should not be comfortable to take rest there. So if you're reading, and you have suppose if you're not able to understand by reading once, you can read twice, you can read again and again to make it understand. And also you can use dictionaries when you read, so that you can learn more and more. For reading, you can use newspaper readings. Newspaper reading help you a lot. You will get you'll get the current news of the daily activities, or the current affairs, or you will be getting knowledge about the current affairs. So you should have a habit of reading newspaper. In newspaper also, you can learn more vocabularies, the new vocabularies which has been used. You have proper column for everything. Even you have puzzle games, word games, everything in a activity based learning, you can do it. So newspaper also plays a vital role. Book reading also, if you have a habit of reading books, you can write well. You should know how to pronounce, or how to frame the word sentence, or how to structure a sentence, how to bring the coherence, or how to bring the sequential order of the sentences. So that's what we can do when you read. Next, effective writing. When you have all these four skills, it shows that you are an effective communicator, or if you are effective in communication. So how can you write effectively? There are many ways to achieve good writing skills. It's a skill, actually, everybody cannot do it. So you have to visualize the readers. That's what you should have, the reader in your mind. You cannot write anything for yourself. You are writing for the reader. They have to read, and they have to comprehend the things whatever you are writing. So you should have the readers in your mind. Readers are the best judges. Next, create a productive environment. You have to create a productive environment where you can have more creative thinking, where we have more innovative thoughts. You can develop more innovative thoughts, and make an outline of notes. First, you should have an outline of notes. Collect materials. You can collect even for research writing, whatever it may be. You have to collect, gather materials. Pre-write it. Free write means you can write in your own words. Don't copy from anyone. It's what is your opinion about it. Maybe you will get more ideas from outside, but you have to present it in your own points, or in your own words. Likewise, you can have a free writing. And whenever you write, you'll have a topic sentences. In every paragraph, you'll have a topic sentence. You'll focus on one particular topic or one particular point, and the other sentences will be sequentially written on that. Only one sentence will be a topic sentence. Based on that, we will frame many sentences or expand our ideas. So be careful when you're writing topic sentences. Topic sentences will help you to improve your writing skills. You can add more additional information about the topic sentence which you are focusing on. Follow your own style. Everybody will not write in the same manner. The writing skills will differ from person to person. Some people are good in writing poems. Some people are good in writing no, stories, novels, dramas, and scripts. So everyone will have a different talent. You should find out where you are good at. So you focus on the talent, and you can definitely achieve this goal or the skills which you have. And after you have written something, or after you have written your poured your words, or after you have if you have given an information or additional information or necessary details about what you are talking or what you're writing about, you can have a grammar check. Even we have a school tool called Grammarly tool. So you can have a check of grammar there. So you likewise you can improve. When you read a lot, you can write a lot. You can have great writings. Read a lot. Reading helps you to acquire more things. One thing is knowledge, the other thing is this language. Even though you have more concept in your mind, even though if you have more thoughts in your mind, you should have a good language to communicate with. You have to use it properly. You have to convey that knowledge or ideas to the world. Then only you can grow yourself. You can improve in your career, or any you can have development. So it's very important to have. Then here I have few tips for you to have enhance your communications. As I already told you, you should have involvement or willingness to do something, or you should have enthusiasm, right? You should have more enthusiasm. You should be more enthusiastic to do something. And if you want to achieve a language, you should have enthusiasm. Think in English. This is the main thing we can do when you want to improve your communication skills. How can we think in English? We ourselves, we won't think in English. Every human have a tendency to think in your mother tongue. But how can we think in English? We have to think in English. Then only we can learn that language naturally. How can we think the language? If you see any object, if you go to if you have experienced to certain situation, if you have witnessed any incident, how will you think? You have lots of questions, and all those things will be in your mother tongue, in your native language. That should not happen. If you want to learn a target language, I'm not saying that you should not hate your mother tongue or your native language. It's always there. It's always the best one to communicate with anyone. But to grow in career, you should have enhance in communication. You should have good communication skills. For that, you should have the target. You have to achieve the language skills. So think in English. Thinking means you can't just think simply when you see an object, or say when you see any movie for that matter. If you have even English movie, if you have the subtitle, it won't help you to learn the language or acquire the language. You should hear the language and without subtitle. If you want to know the subtitle, you can have later you can have the glance at it. But when you hear the conversation, don't have the subtitles. That won't help you to learn a language naturally. Be an active listener. That I told you already. You have to active be an active listener. Take up every opportunity. You should have that much involvement and that much interest to take up more activities. And you yourself voluntarily participates in discussion. Only when you're able to converse, you can participate in discussion or debates. So read a lot. Organize your speech. You should have an organized speech. There should be a logic between the previous sentence and the next sentence. Gradually, you can avoid mistakes. And you can test yourself. You can give feedback for yourself. And if you want to get feedback from your others, you can even get feedback from others. Google is your best friend, I hope. So you can get assistance from that. L- and speak to and you have to speak in order to make the listener understanding. He has to understand. So your speech should be clear, loud, syllable, and flexibility. It should be flexibility. You should not speak anything harshly. You should have the listener in your mind. Okay. These are the tips I can give to enhance your communication skills. I hope you all enjoyed the session. With this, I conclude that in order to acquire a language, you should practice that language. Practice, practice, practice. Nothing but practice. When you practice the language, you will definitely achieve your goals. That is the target language. I wish you all the best, and thank you for the opportunity given by the Global Education and Training Institute. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Prabha.
Thank
Can
you,
you
ma'am.
stop the screen sharing if it is
Yes,
done?
ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Um,
Yes.
yeah, am I audible and you can see me?
Yeah, I can see you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Prabha. It was really very informative and fruitful session, especially the quick tips that you have given in the last slide to enhance the communication skills. As rightly said, that English, the communication, when you communicate in English language, it's very important as far as the personality development is concerned, your professional growth is concerned, and these days you will see there are spoken English courses that is happening. I mean, it has become that important and it has become mandatory. Even parents who never probably has studied in English medium schools, they are also, they want to put their kids in English medium schools, just not only to have some education, but yes, they are more interested for them to develop the English communication skills, the flair of communicating in English. That is very important. And my viewers, I have not seen any questions as of now that has come up in the comment section. So they enjoyed the session, but they have no questions to ask, it seems. So please, I request once again that do post your questions. Feel free to post your questions, and Ms. Prabha will be back to you. Anyway, just I would like to know, Prabha, since after this wonderful session, that how can you help the kids, or the how can what message can you give to the teachers in schools? I mean, that how can they do the practice, a simple little way uh, for the kids, that they're motivated to speak in English. So if you can give some tips to the teachers as well in the school, how they can do
Yes.
it.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Actually, when you want to motivate the students, we just nobody will get interested to know to learn a language, because in schools also the students will have their subject, will give more importance to the subjects. They won't give
Mhm.
importance to language. So how can we motivate the students? Only because of only by the activity based learning. If you conduct the session like activity based, they'll definitely have the interest to learn a language. Take for example, you can have a newspaper in your hand, you can take the newspaper to the class, and you can have a clippings of the newspaper, find out the few vocabularies which they can do it, and find out the vocabulary meaning of the vocabulary. And also even you can have the session like a role play. You have
Mhm.
to introduce any event from the or any article from the newspaper, and ask the students to enact a role play. The students will really enjoy it. And even reading also we can make use of it. So activity
Okay.
based learning will help them a lot, especially in
Thank.
language learning.
Yeah. Thank you. But see, the thing is that there will be some introvert kind of kids also. They are shy. They probably may not openly come up in such activity-based learning also. So, and another thing which is there, that any language, for that matter,
Yes.
if it is English or any language, I think language cannot be taught only through books or by any such practices. It
Yes,
should
ma'am.
be a continuous process whereby there is a involvement of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
person as a speaker. They should be involved, they should practice in real life. It just can't be somehow they get the knowledge and then that they apply it somewhere. It should be a continuous process. Even
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you see, in the schools, even at home, uh, there are kids who at home also, they speak in English, they communicate in English. Probably their parents also help in small little communication at home. It's just not the
Yes,
school. So, if you can give some inputs in this matter also, what should be the role of the parents at home? I think even the parents role is important, and also in the school, to keep it a continuous process.
process.
It's just as you said, activity based learning is very important, but what if it is not happening every time? But how you can make the habit, because it's been observed that in a school, when a teacher says speak in English, they will speak again back to their vernacular language, their mother
Yes,
tongue.
ma'am.
Again, someone has to say, hey, you use your mother tongue, you will be punished for that. Again, so you have to keep, but how naturally and a spontaneous way it can be developed amongst the students, that they love the language and they feel comfortable, confident, and continue to, a culture should be created. When a culture is created, obviously the others in that culture is ought to speak in that environment, in that culture. So if you can just give us some more inputs into this. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Can
can
you
you
hear me?
please give some more? Yeah. Can you just give some inputs that how we can have a continuity of this practice,
Yes,
and just not in the activity based learning? It should be a continuous, there should be a culture that has to be developed. How?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, in schools, students will speak in English, but at home they'll use their vernacular languages. But
Mhm.
how can we improve the habit of reading or habit of speaking in English? They
Mhm.
have to expose in situation. Only if you are exposed to certain situation, you can do it in a natural way. For example, if they are I told you the act of thinking, you have to think
Mhm.
in English. Make the children to think in English, if that is a target language. So how can
Mhm.
we create the interest? Even the movies which you're watching with your family, you can play the English movies. There are a lot of good movies. We can have the children to we can have the situation to watch the English movies, or the books which their students, the children are reading. We can have good colorful books which have good pictures, which will motivate them to read the book. Like that we can create the natural life like experience, then only they can improve. The
Thank
parents
you
should be
so
very much
much.
aware of it actually,
Yeah.
because it's
Mm.
very much important. Now we should have good communication skills, right?
True. Thank you so much. And I'm sure parents who are there watching this program will understand that the role of a parent at home is also important, because they need to generate that natural liking for the language. And for that, they can go for any books, any show, any movies, and so on. Even the cartoon channels are there, which is in English. So,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, as you rightly said, the more you listen, the better you speak, because if you listen, then only I think your vocabulary gets enhanced. So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
all about how good language you use, what are the good vocabulary. So that's the way the grace of the language, and the language develops, the quality develops in the communication skills. Thank you so much, Prabha. I'm not seeing much questions here, and I request the viewers to post the questions even after the session is over. You can see the recording of the session and post the question if at all you need to ask something, and Miss Prabha will get back to you replying to your questions. Thank you, all of you, so much for staying tuned till the end of the session, watching this session, and appreciating this session. And I'm sure it's going to help us a lot. And this is the need of the hour. Everyone like to be a very good communicator, especially in English, spoken English, as a communicative English. Thank you so much for this wonderful session, Ms. Prabha.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
viewers. Thank you. All of you stay safe. Take care. Bye bye.